topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from top local experts in the fields of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to experts in family law, association law, hearing loss, business brokers, home care, along with many other topics. Now here are your hosts, Steve-O and Sophia.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to another Ask the Expert show where we bring you the finest experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. One of the great things about doing this show is you find out who are the top people in their field, but you also find out people who aren't necessarily the top people in their field. This show today, and it's one of the very few shows that we do for the entire 50 minutes, and we do it twice a month because, first of all, it is so important. And I got to tell you, another thing is the trust factor. You know, we do a lot of due diligence on companies, and in the area of tax resolution, offer compromise, boy, there's just companies that come in with the big national ads and the celebrities, and you wonder, why is that celebrity? He's probably never had a tax issue. But I see these companies come in and out, and mostly out. And probably the biggest, I guess, feedback on there is once they take your money, you never hear back from them again. So we are so lucky to have Taxation Solutions. They have been with us literally for 12 years now. And I got to tell you, we do get callers and viewers write us and tell us about negative things about our experts. We get those. But in 12 years, I have never had one person contact me with one negative response about Taxation Solutions. That's amazing. I'm going to knock on wood. And I got to tell you that it's a show that I so look forward to doing. It is the easiest show to do because our expert, Barry Fowler, the way he explains things, it's, let me tell you something. One of the things when you know, if you've got a tax problem, it weighs on you. And to have a person like Barry and his company that can actually calm you down and make you feel better, I'm just so lucky that we have Barry Fowler. I've gone a little bit longer. I normally go on an opening, but Barry, we are so glad that we have your company, Taxation Solutions.
Hey, Steve, good morning. How are you today?
Doing wonderful.
Hey, you know, before we get started, we're coming up on like probably one of the most important holidays, Memorial Day.
Oh, how about your birthday?
No, I wish that was a holiday. It should be a federal holiday, but this is way more important than me or my company or anything else. It's a day to remember those soldiers that gave their lives for this great nation, for our freedoms and protecting our country. And you know, you got to take the time to take a moment and say thank you to those people and those families that gave their loved ones and they gave their life in the line of duty for us. And if you've never, ever been to Arlington National Cemetery, that is a place that is really moving and you really need to go to. And you go see the tomb of the unknown soldier and watch them, you know, change the guards and everything there. It's a fantastic weekend. So I know people are
taking. What did it feel like, Barry, when you were there?
It was just moving. You couldn't even put it into words. The feeling, even walking through that cemetery and realizing those men and women gave their lives for this great nation, and then to watch the changing of the guards in total silence there at the tomb. And man, you can't put it into words, but you do have to say thank you. And I know people take the time with family, but if you do see somebody in the military, or somebody that whether they gave their life or limbs or were injured, whatever, it's taking the time to say thank you for their service to this great country.
I'm jealous, Barry. I have always wanted to go there. I'm jealous.
Well, you need to take the time just to get up there and go. We've taken the whole family there to see this because it's something that is very moving. I think my sister found out that I have a great grandfather that is actually buried in Arlington National Cemetery. We couldn't find his tombstone out there, but my sister said we had people that served back in the Civil War in our family, so it's crazy.
Hey, Barry, is there a directory there? I mean, unless you're family, how would you know who's there?
Yeah, there's a directory. You're supposed to be able to find certain areas and plots and everything. We tried to take some of the time to go through and do it, but after sitting there and going through the cemetery and everything else, it's a relatively large place.
Yes.
But it's an incredible place.
Well, let's talk about taxation solutions.
Well, Barry, how do we move to taxes after that?
Yeah, really. Barry, I got it. It's really strange how we get all these emails, people going, hey, I found the show by accident and I started listening, and I thought I only listened for a few minutes and ended up listening for the entire 15 minutes. There's always new people finding the show. Tell people about Taxation Solutions.
Well, Taxation Solutions was formed out of a need. People coming to us, because we've been preparing taxes now for close to 40 years, probably over that. And, we always fought the IRS. We always did a little bit of resolution work. And in the early 2000s, it was becoming more and more prevalent that we needed to work with people to fight the IRS and do IRS, resolution. And so out of that need came Taxation Solutions to just do tax problem solving. So, we created taxationsolutions.net, tax relief, and started working against the IRS to fight them, to get relief, whether it's penalties or interest, offers in compromise, partial pay installment agreements, just installment agreements, or even non-collectible status. Whatever route we needed to go for our clients to save them from the IRS, we went down those routes to get there. And, we continue to this day talking to people and giving them the service that they need, they require. And, we don't sell our services just to sell our services. We actually have to talk through people. I lost 3 clients this week, potential clients that didn't sign with us because somebody else promised them the moon and the stars. And we told them point blank, that isn't going to happen. They either had too much equity in their house, too much income, and they were saying, well, no, this other company said they can get us an offer in compromise. And I said, it's impossible. Well, we don't have any money left at the end of the month. It's still not going to get you an offer in compromise because of the money that you make. And the IRS has certain requirements when you do an offer in compromise that you can't go above national standards on these items. And given that, you're not going to qualify. And they said, but they said we could, so we're going to go there. Great. Call me back when they don't do what they're going to do, and let us honor what we said we can do and let us get it done the right way when you're ready to actually have somebody that's going to follow through and be able to do what they said.
Barry, I got to tell you, one of the things I love about Taxation Solutions is you guys really walk the walk. I mean, you don't just sit there and answer the phone and tell someone if you can help them or not. You have developed so many tools to help people. It's getting to where I don't even know where to start at. First of all, you have your own podcast you do on Mondays. At what time, Barry?
It's 10 a.m. Eastern time. It's taxtalk4u.com and right here on W4CY Radio. You can listen to us every Monday, and we talk about taxes, bookkeeping, whether it's small businesses, truckers, tax problems, tax relief. We're all about taxes.
And then your wonderful wife, Meg, came up with an incredible idea. The IRS playbook.
Yeah, I got to stop.
What an incredible idea.
Maybe I need to take the credit for it, but I mean, yeah, she came up with the idea and we ran with it. And, it's, if you go to irsplaybook.info, you can get the information there. It's our 3 simple steps that we use to solve everybody's tax problems. I mean, that's the basis of what we do. Is right there, and we're giving the information out. We want to help people, and we know, hey, sometimes people don't want to hire somebody, or they've been burned by somebody else, because we hear it all the time. Don, who I was talking to yesterday, was sitting there telling me he paid somebody close to $8,000 to help him with his tax problem, and they did absolutely nothing for a year and a half. And now he's got a bigger tax problem, owes now $700,000.
Oh,
and hesitant to pull the trigger and get things done. And we're like, hey, we need to do this in these couple of steps, and we will get this stuff done, with your participation, because he's got quite a few taxes years to file, and so we've got to get that filed first. And then he's like, well, what's our solution, and how much is it going to cost me? And I said, well, wait a minute. Just because the IRS says you owe $700,000, by the time we're done with your taxes, that's going to come down quite a bit. And then we'll figure out the right solution for you at that time. Yeah, but other people are pricing me and giving me the solution and offering compromise and going to charge me, $20,000 or $30,000 and then file the taxes on top of that. Well, they don't even know what the solution is going to be, because they don't know what the final amount is. So let's take and cut the head off the snake right from the beginning and file the taxes first, and then let's deal with the rest of the snake afterwards when we know what the final amount is. I mean, it's going to be that much easier to do and that much more realistic. And we can stop the IRS and put holds until we get the taxes filed, as long as we're moving fairly quickly through this. So we have everything in our arsenal and our tools to be able to do things the right way. He's going to start moving forward with us, because we're going to get done exactly what we said we're going to do, step by step.
Barry, we got a couple letters. I forgot to tell you about this. People said, we heard about these 80,000 new agents being hired. And, it seemed like they're really gearing up. And now we hear about 26,000 people giving early retirement. What's going on with the IRS?
Nobody knows. Even when they hired 80,000, they didn't know what they were doing then. They're losing 26,000. They don't know what they're doing now. I think that a lot of it can be somewhat automated in what the IRS does. I don't think they really needed that 80,000 agents. And especially since the training of those 80,000 agents isn't very good. And, some of them may have been history majors and not math majors or finance majors. Who knows where they came from, but we knew that a lot of them didn't know exactly everything they were doing, and we had to teach them along the way and groom them to the way we wanted them, which is fine. Gave me a little bit step up on some of the people that I was dealing with there, just because you're dealing with some people that have no clue what was really behind the taxes or what they're doing. But then it also meant that we had to go above them and go to their manager or go to the territory manager to get some of the things done that we had to do. So are we happy about them dismissing or taking 26,000 people out of the mix? Hey, it doesn't make any difference to me.
Yeah.
We're going to work through whatever we have to work through within the laws that Congress has provided and the guidance of the administration, so that we can get our clients the best possible outcome of tax relief that they can qualify for and the relief they deserve, to get them back being able to live and not have to, deal with that monkey that's on their back and the stress and not sleeping at night and worried whether they're going to get their bank account levied or their wages garnished. Speaking of wages garnished, gentleman Jeff called, and he was getting his wages garnished from his employer. We had to put a stop to that and be able to get him back to living his life. We were able to get a hold on that for about 4 months, and we'll be able to get the things done that we need to get done so that the IRS will stay off his back. And even if you're not a W-2 employee and you're a contractor, if the IRS knows where you're working, which they will when you get a 1099 NEC, they'll put a hold and a levy on those 1099 wages as well. So that whole contract amount will go to the IRS. They don't have to file the guidance as if you were a W-2 employee. They're going to take 100% of it. And then what do you do?
I think some of my favorite stories with you, Barry, is when you knew an agent was wrong and you were right, and you had to go above their head to their supervisor, because you're always fighting for your client.
Hey, knowledge is power, and power is knowledge. I mean, the experience and knowledge that we have here on our staff is incredible. And when you have that kind of knowledge, you have a lot of power. And that means, hey, I can't dictate what's going to happen at the IRS, but what I can do is when they're wrong, I can call them out on it. And when they're wrong and won't listen, I can go to the next step and go to the manager. When that manager is wrong, I can go to their territory manager and get things done. When you can go and quote, the Internal Revenue Manual to them, you can quote the Internal Revenue policies to them, and you go chapter and verse of the code, and they don't want to listen, you have to move to the next step. And when you do move to that next step, if they don't listen, you have to move to the next higher step. If we needed to, and I haven't had to do it, I've got people that work for me and do things for me that we could actually go to tax court if it really had to go to tax court. Most cases, it's not worth going to tax court because it gets really expensive. Yes. And sometimes when you decide you need to go to tax court, it's because you're standing on principle. Sometimes you got to take a step back and think, how much is principle worth to you to make that kind of stand? And in a lot of ways, there's easier ways to get around it, easier ways within the code to make things work and still get things done to the satisfaction of you and to the satisfaction of the IRS. We've just got to work within all the rules and regulations. Now, if you need our help, I can't help you unless you actually pick up the phone and give us a call at 877-996-6477. Again, it's 877-996-6477. Now, it's a free call, free consultation. Let us talk to you. Even if you're not going to use us and you're going to use somebody else that sells you the pipe dream, just give us a call and talk to us. Let us put a little more sense to it. You're going to end up talking to an enrolled agent, may even end up talking to me. We have no sales staff that is sitting here trying to sell you. It's enrolled agents. It's our staff. They're going to gather information. We're going to have a meeting. We're going to have a phone call. We're going to have a conference, and we're going to talk it through together. And then you can make your decision, which is the right way to go.
Here's a text from Greg in Metairie. I've been listening to your show for several weeks now. I will be calling your office this week. We just gave out Barry's phone number. My question is, what percent of your clients really owe how much the IRS tells them they're owed?
Well, that situation always varies, because if you filed all your tax returns and you're not going through an audit, usually the IRS is correct. If you haven't filed all your tax returns, usually means the IRS did substitute for returns. We can fix that, correct that, and you usually have the amount much lower than what the IRS is saying. And the reason your amount, if you haven't filed your returns and the IRS did substitute for returns, is they don't file their tax return in interest of you, Greg. They're going to file it into the interest of the IRS, meaning if you got a 1099, there are no tax deductions that are on there. They're not going through and claiming your kids or any other deductions you have or your expenses against your 1099. They just take that full $300,000 1099 and put it on Schedule C, and now you owe self-employment tax on the whole amount. You owe federal income tax on everything else, and now you owe a massive amount of money. And they do it for a couple of years, and now we've got to go in and fix that. We actually file the actual tax return and bring the amount down. Now, that being said, if we go in and their return is better than what you would have filed, we just accept the substitute for return.
Right.
So there's techniques behind this. We just got to look at it, make sure that we're doing it right, and we do what's right for you, our client, not what's right for the IRS, but we also stay within the tax code and the tax laws. We are not going to go outside of what the tax codes are. Now, we may push the limits of the code where we need to, but we are not going to go to where, hey, you're breaking the law. We don't want you to do that. It's not worth it to us, and it's not worth it to you. If somebody suggests doing that, adding a business that you didn't have, don't do it. Get to a preparer that knows what they're doing, that are going to be able to stand behind their work and have the knowledge to help you, not just make it look good.
Barry, would you touch on, because we talk about on every show about people who drive a truck for a living, and you have really focused your business a lot on these truck drivers, and you've come up with many ways that you can help them. And they are like people who really need help, because they're out there, they're not worried about business. They have so much more, just the fact driving so many miles. Tell people what you've done to help truck drivers.
I will. 1 second here is, Greg, hey, you've been waiting and listening to this show, and while you're waiting, the IRS is ramping up their collection activities probably on you, sending you more letters. It's not time to wait till later this week. Call us today. 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. We can help you. Let us start putting a solution in place and get this IRS off your back sooner rather than later. Don't make things worse. So truckers, Steve, many, many years ago, man, I sound like a novel now or something, or one of those fairy tales out there. Many, many years ago, a long, long time ago, our resolution work took off, and a lot of them were truckers. They had IRS problems after IRS problems. I even dealt with an IRS agent named Jan, And what got to me one day, I was working with her with a client who happened to be a trucker, and she told me she was going on vacation, and she was eager to get on vacation and get on the road because it gave her the opportunity to go through the truck stops, to go through the rest stops where truckers were sleeping at night, looking for trucks for taxpayers that she could repossess their truck. I said, wait a minute, you're going on vacation? She goes, yeah, I know. I get to go on the road and I know where some of these trucks are. I've just got to find them and then I can call in and get the truck. Wait a minute. You're that eager to go after our nation's truckers to get their truck from them because you have a lien on the truck and they're not being compliant or complicit with what you want. So you're going to spend your vacation time doing that.
Wow.
There's a problem with this. So we sought out truckers to help them get the IRS off their back. And then many truckers came to us after the fact and said, hey, Mr. Fowler, will you do our bookkeeping and taxes? And I went, yeah, we do bookkeeping. We do taxes here, locally. But yeah, we'll pick you up as a client. And then more and more people kept coming to us. More and more of our tax relief clients kept asking us the same thing of truckers. We set up a whole separate company just focused around truckers. And we became very important in the trucking industry and working with a national association. So the Association of Owner Operator Independent Drivers Association, that I go out and speak at their seminar called Truck to Success, that brings new people that are wanting to come out and be owner operators to teach them about bookkeeping, taxes, lease purchase, entities, and be able to talk with them and show them, hey, these are the things you need to do when you're becoming an owner operator, or maybe even you're existing owner operator and want to learn how to be better running your business as an owner operator. So we started the company called Trucker Tax Tools. It's all about trucking. It's all about doing taxes and bookkeeping for truckers. And then we set up a very, very low price for bookkeeping. And people say to me all the time, how can you afford to do it at $25 a week? You must be shipping it overseas. Absolutely not. Everything's done right here in our office in the United States for our American truckers nationwide. And that's what we do. So if you go to truckertaxtools.com, you can get over there and see what we do for our clients. You can also go to our contact form and put in that, hey, you want us to contact you, talk about your bookkeeping, taxes, even your back taxes. We'll work with you to do it. And once you become a bookkeeping client, we also review the last 2 or 3 years tax returns for you to make sure your previous preparer caught all the trucker deductions, because trucking deductions are absolutely specialized. And you can call us here at Taxation Solutions. It's 877-996-6477. We'll set you up with bookkeeping and tax work with Trucker Tax Tools as well. We're one big happy family here, one big company servicing tax relief nationwide for everybody, and bookkeeping and taxes for truckers all across the country. And that's what we're here to do is help them. Truckers, they are key to our economy. They're the groups that transport those goods all across the nation that you and I buy in any store you walk into. It had to have been transported here by a truck to get to where it's at to be sold to you and I. If we didn't have that, where would you be? Down at the port, going through a big warehouse or something? I don't know where you would be. So, hey, we thank the truckers, and that's why we try to be a service to truckers nationwide.
Barry, I, like many of the listeners, love hearing your stories. I bet you have seen so many clients that had a bad tax preparer. Can you share some of those stories with us?
Oh, there's never a bad tax preparer.
Yeah,
If they got
right.
you a refund, they are absolutely the greatest person in the world. Yeah, it frustrates me, Steve. You couldn't tell that in my tone. You know, just because you get a refund, it makes you happy. I mean, I understand it. You know, everybody likes to get money. You know, we've always looked at preparers and said, you know, you should be using a enrolled agent. We know more people than, or more about taxes than any other people in the industry, because that's what we do. We do tax relief. We learn about taxes. We study taxes. That's what enrolled agents do. And we're licensed by the U.S. Department of Treasury to represent you, and have to have been tested and vetted and everything else. So if you're looking for a preparer, you really want an enrolled agent to be on your side. And that's what I tell everybody. We have to do our due diligence. We have to follow the law. We have to follow Circular 230. We have all these requirements, but a general preparer doesn't. And some of these preparers that you see out there want to just get you a refund because it makes them look good. So they don't do things necessarily the right way. They exaggerate your deductions. Or maybe you're a W-2 employee, and all of a sudden you have a Schedule C, small business, and you have big losses. Or, you know, they all of a sudden throw in real estate. We've seen that being the biggest one hawked right now is, hey, if you become a real estate owner, you can have all these deductions and everything. And I've seen where preparers have thrown real estate on somebody's return, but they don't actually own it. Because, you know, a lot of people never, ever look at their tax return. They just sign it. So, you know, you and I grew up in a day and age where your father or mother always told you read before you sign something. There's a group of people who never, ever probably looked at a tax return. People that have come to us that said, what am I looking at? And we go through and explain it to them. Well, don't you just tell me to sign it and I just sign it? I trust you. No, we want you to look at it, understand it, and sign the document understanding, because you sign it under penalties of perjury, not me. You sign it, this is true and correct. So how do you know it's true and correct if you don't understand the numbers that are on your tax return? Look at your tax return. Read documents before you sign it. You know, we went to a house closing, and really funny is my wife and I were sitting there reading all the closing documents for our house. And the title company lady looked at me. She goes, "Are you really reading this?" And I went, "Yeah." And she goes, "Well, you're just supposed to sign here." I'm not signing something I hadn't read and looked at. Well, nobody reads these. Well, that's the problem today. People don't read the documents before they sign it. You know, so we teach people to do that.
Hey, Barry, do you remember the last caller, our last show? His question was, who is responsible when a tax preparer files a false return? That was right at the end of the show. I'm pretty sure you answered that.
You signed the document. All I did is sign that I prepared the document and transmitting the document. Now the IRS holds us to some due diligence on some of this stuff, but if you're not licensed and you're just a preparer, they don't care. They're not going to lose much. They don't have much to lose. I have a license to lose. I have a practice to lose. So we're going to do what we got to do and do it right. But at the end of the day, the person responsible for that tax return is you. Your name's on it. You signed it. If you're married, your husband or wife signed it with you. You're both responsible for that return because you're signing under penalties of perjury. This is true and correct. And that's something that, hey, that's the reason I tell you, read. And I know I went off on a huge tangent about reading and signing. But when you have an unscrupulous tax preparer that's going to do things wrong and try to just get you the best return without really regards to what it is, you've got to know what you're looking at, ask the questions, and go through it. If they're offended by a question, hey, that's their problem, not yours.
Barry, you've been doing this for so long, I'm sure you know this, but from reading letters, people are actually embarrassed to call a company like yours. They're embarrassed that they haven't paid their taxes. And, it's a lot of them sound like, we know it's your patriotic duty, but explain to them that they don't have to be embarrassed to contact your office.
Well, you definitely don't have to be. I mean, it's a no judgment zone. We pass no judgment on you. Matter of fact, the only judgment we pass is the IRS being big, bad, and ugly. And we need to stop the IRS and help you out and let you be able to sleep at night, let you feel better about your life and not worry about, whether they're going to levy your bank account or garnish your wages or, all the collection activity they can do against you. We want to help you through this problem. I get embarrassed too. I'll be honest with you. When I've got to call an electrician to fix a problem that I created or made worse, I get embarrassed about doing it. I really don't want to do it. So my wife usually picks up the phone and does it. So if your husband's embarrassed, you're the wife, pick up the phone. Don't be embarrassed. Let's get the problem resolved. If your husband doesn't want to man up and deal with the problem, you do it. Hey, take the step to make the move to get the IRS off your back so you both don't have to worry and sleep. I mean, we deal with all kinds of problems. We've heard it all. We've heard the reasons. We've heard the excuses. We've heard different things that have happened in life, and life happens. We move on. But you got to fix it to be able to move on. You got to put stops in place to be able to move on in your life and make things better for you and your family. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, we're coming up here, towards the end of the month. You're going to get your final paycheck at the end of the month. And the IRS happens to have a pretty good little database of knowing when you're going to get paid. Mm-hmm. And you just got paid and they garnished everything. They levied your bank account and pulled it all out. How do you make your mortgage payment? How do you make your car payment? How do you make your utility bill payment with nothing in your account? You don't. So, that's more embarrassing than just calling us and saying, hey, I've got a problem. And man, I'm one of those 20 million people here in the United States that has a tax problem. Can you help me? And let's talk through it. Let's see what we can do for you and how we can help you out. Make the phone call. Make the no judgment zone phone call at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477.
This is Rex in Baltimore. I'm really enjoying your show. I heard you talking about commercials. There's a new commercial out now where the company says the IRS can go to your neighbors and your relatives. Is that really true?
It is true. I'm laughing because in the last 15 or 20 years, I haven't seen the IRS go out anywhere. They may show up at your business if you're a business owner and you owe payroll taxes, and they want to verify where you're at and how talk to you about how much you owe and everything else. A lot of times we put a kibosh to that so that we keep them out of your business and stuff if your business is owing taxes. But as a personal, you've got to be owing quite a bit of money and got to be hiding a lot of assets, and the IRS is aware that you're hiding it. And when you have that as a problem, They might go out there. They do send that threatening letter that they can talk to friends and family, neighbors, business associates, and all that. It's because they're trying to find what you're hiding on them. And if you're hiding assets like that, the IRS is going to find them. You know, we need, when you call us, full disclosure, so we know how to help you the best way possible. If you're sitting on some real estate that you inherited and think that the IRS isn't going to find it, think again. The IRS has great databases and access to more information than you could ever imagine. And so the only way we can help you is to have you help us and fully disclose everything, so we know how to design something to keep those assets and those things in play for you, for your future, for your family.
Barry, you know, we also get a lot of people wondering, and you explained it on several occasions, about how you charge. You can't really have a menu of charges because every tax problem you get is different. So it's impossible for you to have one set rate.
Absolutely true. I mean, our rates will depend on what we have to do for you. I mean, whether it's filing tax returns, whether it's going after an offer in compromise, and depending on how much money that you owe to the IRS, whether it's going to payment plans. Different payment plans require a completely different amount of work. And so, you know, we tailor our services around where we're going to be able to go for you. What we do start everybody out, and it is a set price, is transcript analysis, to where we actually go in and pull completely the records from the IRS on everything on you. I had a client call me and talk to me the other day and wanted to debate me about information that I can get from the IRS versus what he could get for free. And I said, you know, hey, let's do it this way. Sign up for transcript analysis with us. You know, normally it's $1,200. Right now, we're doing it for $600. We pull complete records from the IRS. It gives us all the information. This guy is going to go after getting his own transcripts. We're going to compare what he can get from the IRS versus what I get from the IRS. And what I get from the IRS is absolutely complete information about every letter sent to you, information about CSED, statute of limitations, information about problems that could be on your tax return for the last 3 to 5 years. I'm able to get any other correspondence and background information that you would have to file like a Freedom of Information Act to get, that I can get from the IRS when I pull your records. That's the difference. And then we are set up perfectly to how to represent you and get you the best solution possible. Because that's, at the end of the day, is what you're looking for.
Yes.
Is how do I get the best solution? How do I get sleep at night? How do I rest easy? How do I make my husband or wife feel better about this tax problem being dealt with than staying awake half the nights to worry about what's going to happen tomorrow when my paycheck hits the bank, or what's going to happen to the house, or what liens are on, the house and equipment, or maybe I've got a business tax problem and are they going to levy my business account and I can't make payroll? All these things are major issues, but it starts, hey, let's start with the transcript analysis. Let's work through this. Let's find out what needs to be done, and then let's get it done and get that IRS off your back. We also, with that transcript analysis, put holds on your account. So you get two things for the price of one, and a little bit of sleep and rest, knowing that we've now put a hold in place and we can start moving forward with solutions.
Wow. Barry, we don't talk a lot about business, but you do handle businesses. And I got to tell people, when you're running a business, people don't understand. If they've never had a problem with the IRS and they're first going through a problem, they don't understand how long they have to spend just on the phone, just on hold. And when they hire a company like yours, they don't have to do that. You take care of that for them.
Oh yeah, it's, tax relief at its best is that, hey, you don't have to talk to anybody in the IRS. You don't have to sit on hold waiting for somebody to talk to you. And then when you're on the phone with them, you don't have to sit on hold while they say, hey, can I put you on hold for 5 minutes and so I can look at the information on your account? Then they come back in 5 minutes and they say, can you hold for another 5 minutes while I'm still pulling information on your account? And then they come back another 5 minutes and say the same thing. And after about 20, 25 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, depending on the agent, they're now ready to actually talk about what's on your account. And theirs is, how much can you pay? How much do you have in your bank? Who do you bank with? Little innocent sounding questions, setting you up for what? 100% collections?
Yes.
Or a levy of everything that's in your account? Who do you work for? When do you get paid? Equity in your home. See, little things like that sometimes don't sound really that incriminating or problematic. Those are problematic because you just gave them the roadmap to get everything else, and they don't have to do the work to get there. It became really simple, and you laid it out simply for them. And now they expect 100% in an installment agreement, 100% of what you have in the bank, 100% of your 401k or IRAs or cash value life insurance. It's everything they dreamed of, and you made it simple. Now, we're not going to hide anything when we're doing it, but we know how to move them from step one to the solution that's best for you and keep them moving down that road the right way and get the holds in place also. So it gives us time to maybe modify things that are happening in your business and your life to make the payment plan work better for you. Because that's at the end of the day, whether it's an offering compromise, whether it's a payment plan, whether it's a partial payment plan, it's got to work for you to make ends meet, both business and personal. And a lot of the business problems are payroll, and those become their own major issues just in payroll taxes alone.
Hey, Barry, you want to catch that question that just came in on the chat line?
Yeah. What if you share an account with other people? How does that work? Hey, guess what? If your Social Security number is on any account, including your children's accounts, and the IRS levies, they take the money from everybody. Maybe your Social Security number is attached to one of your parents and they have money in their account because you're helping them and you're a signer on their account. They could take all their money. Wow. So yes, if you share an account, they're going to take it. We had to battle one of these ourselves for a friend of mine whose name was on all his kids' accounts, and they were all in college. We had to fight to get the college money back that was given to them by their grandmother, which we were successful in doing, but anything else we couldn't do.
We got a couple minutes. We got one more question. If you can answer that, we got a couple minutes.
Let's put it this way. The question is, would everyone get frozen out of an account if one person has an IRS issue? All the money is gone. The IRS took it all. It's not frozen. There's just no money in the account. You can put more money back in, and then you can use the account, but they took everything that was there at the day of the levy. Now, they're not going to take the extra money that you put in afterwards. Your bank's going to take some money to pay for the levy fee, but the rest of it is going to be there for you. So yes, all that money will be gone.
Barry, how do people reach your office again?
It's taxationsolutions.net. Again, it's taxationsolutions.net. We're going to provide you great tax relief. Call us at 877-996-6477. Again, 877-996-6477. Again, it's taxationsolutions.net. Free call, free consultation. Let us talk about how we can get started, how we can help you and get the IRS off your back. Hey, thank you, Steve. I always appreciate this show here at Ask the Experts.
And hey, you got your show. Don't forget, Barry has a show every Monday at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time. And Barry, boy, we love you, man.
Hey,
Barry will be back with us next month with his 2 shows, but don't forget to catch his show every Monday at 9. Thanks, Barry.
Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it. Have a wonderful week, and God bless, glorious week, and a God bless, glorious Memorial Day next Monday.
God bless you, bro. That's Barry Fowler, Taxation Solutions. Hey, that'll do it for us today. We'll be back again with you next week with more Ask the Experts.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.